Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I don't know. I think we could do a little bit. Good afternoon, everyone. There we go. See, I knew we could do it. Thank you. Thank you for coming. If we haven't met before, my name is Dean Camacho. I am the communication specialist for Immaculate Heart Community. Thank you all for joining here today. This is a very, very packed room. Thank you, camera back here. Those on Zoom, thank you. And yes, I see people looking. We got a camera here, camera here. Thank you to everyone that came on Zoom as well. We really, really appreciate it. Just some things to remember. If this is your first time joining us here in this space or here as a whole, welcome. Something very important. Restrooms are going to be right outside this door to the left, right outside this door to the left down the hall. You'll be able to find both outside of these doors. If you need any help, there's plenty of staff around. We do have a Friends of the Heart volunteer program. We're very, very excited. Please feel free to stop by the registration table to get signed up, help with all the exciting events we have. And if you'll notice, we do have a fresh face in the back. That is Ellie, our new volunteer coordinator, which will get a little bit more recognition. So don't worry, don't worry. Yeah, we'll give her a little preview. Yes, thank you. All right, and you'll also see on the tables as well, not only the registration forms for Friends of the Heart, but the surveys. So the surveys do have a QR code. Again, that kind of just helps provide feedback to us to see what you want to see, what's going on, what we think, and we really, really appreciate the feedback. For those on Zoom, we'll go ahead and put a link in the chat for you to fill out, and it can be now, it can be after. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll go from there. We do want to say a very, very exciting event that we've got going on. Please join us April 29th. We will be having an essential conversation on the intersection between mental health and the criminal justice system. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so April 29th is a great way to go ahead and kick that off with a very, very, very important topic. This program will be held at the eBell here in Los Angeles. We hope you can come and invite others to participate in this discussion. We do have two types of tickets available. For the general public, they are going to start at $50, and for community partners, starting at $35. Who is a community partner? That's a great question. Luckily for you, if you're in this room, you qualify. So please, by all means, we really hope to see you there. And nobody is turned away. So please feel free to register online at immaculateheartcommunity.org or speak to our lovely Pam Hope, wherever she may be. Pam, there we go, raising her hand over here. Please feel free to speak to Pam if you'd like to register. And as a nice little reminder as well, here's what that flyer looks like. Again, you'll see it on the back table. And moving into our next month's Lunch and Learn, if I could get these to cooperate with me. It is on a different date than what was previously reported, so please join us Friday, May 15th, here at St. Paul's in LA, for those that are on Zoom, for our next speaker, Reverend Dr. Lewis Brogdon, the Executive Director of Just Faith Ministries. Many of our own members have had the opportunity to receive this excellent training from Just Faith, so please feel free to register online, again at immaculateheartcommunity.org, and share with others. And just as a final reminder, these events are provided free of charge outside of our essential conversations, but the ones that we host here, the ones that we host in Santa Barbara, we do try to make them as accessible for anyone that would like to attend. So we do appreciate any donations and support made in order to keep these programs up, running, and accessible to everybody. We will have a shorter Q&A portion today. Please hold questions till the end. When that begins, please raise your hand. We'll have a staff member bring over a mic, most likely me or Michaela in the back as well. We'll say hi to her in just 1 second. Please speak clearly into the mic, probably better than what I'm doing now, so our online friends can go ahead and be a part of the discussion. We want to see what everyone's thinking. We'll go ahead and take room questions, and then we'll switch to Zoom questions, so on and so forth, just so we can all be a part of the discussion as well. And now we begin the thank yous. Thank you to St. Paul's staff and neighboring friends for creating this space for us to discuss such crucial topics and come together with one another. Thank you to Chef Tim for working so diligently to provide this wonderful meal for us. Yes, thank you. And everyone involved in that process as well. Absolutely. Thank you to our lovely Allis Druffel. She is an IHM, so Immaculate Heart Community member. She will be speaking today about something that's beginning to feel more prevalent day by day, and her long-term dedication to climate justice. Thank you for sharing that dedication with us today. Thank you to Eric Newton, who will be up shortly, for stepping in. Thank you. helping us work towards bigger, brighter, and more earth-friendly events. A very, very big gracious thank you to Seeds of Hope, who help maintain the Edendale Grove Garden. Yes, that we will be touring today, yes, if we could. Every Wednesday, they do have composting nights. Eric can correct me on that, 5 to 6:30? There we go, 5 to 6:30. No matter rain, shine, no matter how many volunteers, no how hot, no dark, whatever, they show up for one reason, and that is community. And that was really highlighted, and we want to go ahead and honor that. So thank you for allowing us to explore a deeper connection with the local space and the local community. And a final massive thank you to the Immaculate Heart team. Again, one more time before I continue, we would love to introduce Ellie Garcia as our new volunteer coordinator. Ellie, if I could actually have you stand up. Go ahead. Oh, don't be shy now. Thank you. Thank you. I'll accept that one. If you thought we love Friends of the Heart before, just wait. We're very, very excited. If you haven't joined, she will be seeing you soon. Or if you have joined, she'll be seeing you. And if you haven't, see her anyway. Sign up. We're very, very excited to have a new member with us with the same devotion and passion as the rest of the team. And for those of us that are just joining us for the first time, let's take a second to thank Michaela and Sheila back here from what I can see right now. Everyone say hi and thank you. We've got our lovely Elizabeth, Sherry, Gabby, Casper, and of course, Pam. If we could get another round of applause for the rest of the team. Thank you. Thank you. We are on to very big new adventures, and we're very glad you're all here along for the ride. And with that said, I welcome up Eric Newton, wherever he ran off to, who has a few things that he'd like to share, just for a quick moment. Whoa, never mind. Maybe a little bit more than a quick moment.
Thank you, Dean. Wow, it's so great to be here again. But I'm here often at St. Paul's. As Dean mentioned, we compost every Wednesday night right over here at the garden next to St. Paul's Commons. And we process the leftover scraps from the St. Athanasius, always stumble on that word, Athanasius food distribution event on Fridays, which is run by Seeds of Hope, and they do food distributions all throughout the diocese. And it's so great to be a part of that group through the compost, because we want to imitate nature, especially during Earth Month. And part of what the natural cycle is, when food starts to spoil, it doesn't just end up in the trash. It should go to compost. Well, it should go to feed hungry people. That's one. And then feed hungry animals. At the Echo Park Farmers Market, we try to divert as much as we can to farmers that have chickens and ducks, and that's very successful. And then we compost the rest. So we do the leftovers from the food distribution events and the scraps from the farmers market every week, and it's been going on for over 3 years now. So it's a great effort, and it's a great cause. And today we get to share that with you. We're going to do a field trip after the Allis's lecture presentation. We're going to have my team. This is the Zero Waste team over here. And I work with UWS, Universal Waste Systems. We are the Recicla program hauler for Northeast LA. That's part of the city's efforts to make sure everyone is recycling and composting and diverting as much waste as we can from the landfill. Okay? And so that's why I wore my hat, so you could identify me. But, you know, I do this thing about changing hats. So I also have my Seeds of Hope hat. And that's what who we represent over in the garden. And so I hope you can join us. We're going to head right down the steps onto Echo Park Avenue, and it's just a quarter of a block. It's right next door, and we have nice shady trees, picnic tables, and going to do a short presentation, a compost demo, and a garden tour. It is a little bit rough terrain. We don't have a paved walkway in there, but my team can come and help anyone who has any mobility issues find a comfortable spot to sit. We'd love to have you. And in addition to all that stuff, we also brought some zero waste swag. Okay, so you're going to get, we have educational materials, but we also have some gifts for you. So you can pick up on that and become a zero waster in your life. I'm sure a lot of you do a lot of good things already, but there's always room for improvement, right? Nobody's perfect, but that's where we're heading. Zero waste doesn't mean zero waste. It means moving in that direction. So that's what we're trying to do. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any scraps at your table and you're finished, I'm going to come around a couple more times before I head down to the garden. So don't worry. I'll come and collect that. And then we're going to do a green bin demonstration along with the compost demonstration. So thank you so much for being here, and look forward to connecting with you soon.
Thank you. Yes, oh, careful now. Thank you. One more for Eric and everyone, Seeds of Hope, for letting us use this wonderful, wonderful space. As we go ahead and continue our program, I welcome up Sherry Purcell.
Thank you, Dean. Wow, great energy in here today, and thank you all for coming to our Lunch and Learn. It's a two-parter today, and as we said, we're going on a field trip after we hear from Allis, so that should be fun. So thank you for coming. I'd like to start our Lunch and Learns with our Power Up practice. This is something we began last year as a way to help ourselves drop out of the craziness in our lives today, drop out of the chaos, and bring some loving energy into the world. So if you're so inclined, please join me right now. Put your hand over your heart. You may want to close your eyes. And what we're going to do is breathe into our hearts, power up our love energy, and send it out to the world. So take a deep breath in. Power up the love in your heart. And send that out across our city, across the communities that are struggling, the people who are living in fear, people who are hiding. Let's just embrace them with our loving energy today. And again, power up your heart, breathe into your heart, power it up. And then send that love out across our nation to everybody who is facing the unknown, who are living in fear, who are uncertain about our times and are wanting to live in a more positive, loving way. Let's join with them in that effort. Breathe in again, power up your heart. And now let's send that love out to the world and to Mother Earth, particularly in these days when we're faced with we are in a war right now. Let's send that energy out to anybody who's in negotiations, anybody who's facing the impact of this war. And let's embrace Mother Earth, who is also suffering with us through all of this. And lastly, one more time, breathe in, power up your heart, and let's send that love to each other, those of us who are joined here today to learn about how we got here and learn about ways that we can help the healing of Mother Earth. And with that, I say, let it be. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. So welcome to our Lunch and Learn. We started these last 3 years ago. And I like to give a little infomercial. I'll try to be quick for those of you who have not been here before. The Immaculate Heart community in 1970 formed an ecumenical community. We moved from a community of nuns to the inclusive ecumenical community we are today. We're no longer nuns. We don't live in a convent. We live all over the place in the United States and Canada and in England. We're men, women, gay, straight, married, single, and we believe in God. And we act out our faith through justice and social justice activities. We're a community without walls. We accept new members annually, and so we ask you to check our website. And Dean already gave the promo for Friends of the Heart, so get involved in that. I've been asked to also make another announcement. There's an event on May 1st at USC honoring the first president of the Immaculate Heart Community, Anita Caspary. It's a conference at USC. It's open to the public. There's flyers. I don't know, do we have flyers on the table, Susan? Okay. And again, this is a way to learn about the formation of our community and the impact that the actions the women in those days had on religious life and on Los Angeles also. So thank you. So those of you who have been here before know there's 3 things we want you to do while you're here. So listen to our speaker, or educate ourselves. We ask you to pray in your own faith tradition when you hear about the issues that are being discussed. And then finally, we ask you to act. So we believe, as I said, in putting our faith in action and bringing like people together so that we can form that connectivity to be more powerful together. So today we're welcoming Allis Druffel, and she's speaking on the topic, the climate crisis, how we got here, and action forward. She's got action in her message, right? So again, as you listen to her, consider how you might get involved in helping her with this work, and actually the work of our Environmental Commission, because Allis is the chair of our Environmental Commission. So she's been an active environmental advocate, presenter, and educator for more than 2 decades, and we're proud to claim her as a member of the IHC. She was the Southern California Director for California Interfaith Power and Light for 14 years, and she has a special fondness for policy work that addresses the deeply interconnected issues of a systemic racial and environmental injustice, clean energy, job creation, and public health. Her website, Blessed Earth, B-L-E-S-T, Earth, highlights the beauty of creation through music, meditations, and writing. And I just want to share a fun fact with you about Allis. She's a classical singer. She has a beautiful, beautiful soprano voice, and she graces many of our events with her powerful, angelic voice. She holds a master in vocal performance from the University of Maryland, as well as a master in pastoral ministries from Santa Clara University. These dual studies of music and faith have been helpful in her efforts to generate a healthier and more just world. She often combines spirituality and ecological education into her performances in songwriting. She has a CD, I didn't know that. It's called Resilient Songs of Strength and Comfort. And her latest graphic recordings, including There Ain't No Way We'll Lose, which you can find on her YouTube channel. So please join me in welcoming Allis Druffel, IHM.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a true pleasure to be with you today because I see so many people that are so active in a number of justice and social areas. And we're going to have a chance to talk with one another later, and you'll have a chance to share with one another what you're up to. So, I come today before you not as a scientist, but as a person of faith who has been involved in the climate crisis for about 25 years. As we know, the climate crisis can be viewed in any number of ways. In this short presentation, we're going to look at it from a historical, scientific, political, and social lens, largely in the United States. We'll also discuss working climate strategies in effect now and what is needed in action going forward. So please keep in mind that though I'm a member of the Immaculate Heart community, I am not representing the community, and any comments made by me are my own. So, in this short presentation, we're going to talk a little bit of how we got here in the first place. Growing signs and early research, which I learned a lot when I was doing this. Where have we been for the last 25 years? The current crisis, working strategies, and moving ahead together. So I think most of us know the reason why we're here, the basics of how we got ourselves and all of life on Earth into this current mess. It's a result of the massive use of coal, oil, and gas. And also, I'm going to say, overconsumption and corporation dominance. We'll hit that a little bit. So, part of our humanity's progress for thousands of years included the use of coal. But the Industrial Revolution marked a turning point as coal-fueled innovations helped drive global economic expansion. Oil began replacing coal as the dominant energy source in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, especially with the rollout, yes, pun intended, of the automobile, the petrochemical industry, air travel, 2 world wars, which is actually very important, and the goods movement. Of note, the massive uptick of coal production led to a social and economic divide. About 1850, wealthy industry and landowners stayed in the country where the air was clean, and it was the working poor who moved to impoverished cities and suffered the unhealthy, dangerous conditions of coal mining. This paradigm continues today with lower income households, often people of color, suffering from close proximity to polluting sources. Now get this, in 1896, a Swedish scientist, Svante Arrhenius, first made the connection between the burning of coal and the warming of Earth's atmosphere. His research showed that the burning of coal releases carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, which traps heat in the atmosphere and what we know as the greenhouse effect. John Tyndall hinted at this phenomenon as early as 1859. Unfortunately, climate research was put on hold largely until the 1940s. Now, the link between fossil fuels and poor public health has been known for centuries. A few major disasters include the Great Smog, December 1952 in England. Because of the extreme cold, Londoners burned more coal than usual, and much of it was low-grade sulfur-rich. And sulfur, when it's combined with humidity, turns into sulfuric acid. So the result was catastrophic. An estimated 12,000 people died, and many were left with chronic respiratory illnesses. Oh, you can hardly even see this because it's so bad. LA smog in the 1940s and 50s. Los Angeles was incredibly polluted because of industry and because of just the vast amount of cars that we have on the road. In 1969, a massive oil spill off the coast of Santa Barbara, a spill comparable to the size of Chicago, killed thousands of birds and an unknown amount of sea animals. Now, these tragic events led to massive public demand, like we're doing right now, for environmental protections. The very first National Earth Day was celebrated in April 1970. I love this poster that someone put. Earth, help. This was, 55, 56 years ago. And the Clean Air Act and the Bipartisan Environmental Protection Agency was instituted in October 1970. Scientific research on the burning of fossil fuels and resulting atmospheric greenhouse gases gained new life in the 1940s and 50s. In March 1958, C. David Keeling of the Scripps Institution of Oceanography started measuring the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. This has given us the longest record of direct measurements of CO2 in the atmosphere and continues today. In 1988, a lot of us know this man, Dr. Jim Hansen, then head of the NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies, testified before the US Senate Committee. This was 1988. His conclusions: Earth is warmer than at any time in the history of instrumental measurements. Global warming is now large enough that we can ascribe with a high degree of confidence a cause and effect relationship to the greenhouse effect. 3, computer climate simulations indicate that the greenhouse effect is already large enough to begin to affect the probability of extreme events such as summer heat waves. Now, not everyone was paying attention to this, but the United Nations was paying attention to this. And in 1992, the first international kickoff for climate action was held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. This brought together leaders, diplomats, scientists, media, and representatives from NGOs from 179 countries to focus on the impacts of human activities on our environment and what it means for all life on Earth. So we're going to go now to where we've been for the last 25 years. And I say this because I am just shocked that it has taken only 25 years. I mean, we've seen the history. This has been researched, it's been talked about, it's been worked on, but really, it's taken a mere 25 years for climate change to be a little known phenomenon to becoming this clear and present danger that we see now, active now and endangering all parts of the globe. So, we're going to talk about this from the fossil fuel backlash, scientific reports, social equity and faith actions, legislative policies, and global action. So first of all, let's talk about, almost from the beginning of public understanding of the link between fossil fuel and environmental damage, fossil fuel corporations have engaged in deceit, disinformation, harassment, and straight out lying to the public. I could not believe when I found this. This is an advertisement from 1962 from Humble Oil, which was bought out by ExxonMobil. It reads, "Each day, Humble supplies enough energy to melt 7 million tons of glacier." They're just putting it right out there, as if they're, like, proud of it. Oil companies dismiss their own scientists' report, constantly choosing profits over the fate of people, communities, and the planet. In terms of science, in the last 25 years, numerous scientific reports continue to predict severe impacts from the continued use of fossil fuels. This is from the 2023 Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Climate change is a threat to human well-being and planetary health. There is a rapidly closing window of opportunity to secure a livable and sustainable future for all. This graph from Berkeley Earth shows the increase in temperature from the mid-1800s. The x-axis shows time, and the y-axis shows temperature. There's an interesting plateau when I talked about World War II. There's an interesting plateau in the 1940s, which some scientists attribute to the massive greenhouse gas use to World War II. And then there's an almost exponential expansion of temperature since the 1960s. Right when I was playing with like Barbie dolls and 60s, 70s, 80s, whoa, what's happening? So we have seen the devastating consequences of climate impacts for the last 25 years. And I need to mention Hurricane Katrina. In 2005, August, Hurricane Katrina claimed at least 1,836 lives. I say at least. Climate refugees, 200,000 climate refugees, moved out and never returned to their home communities. And this is where the power of the people come in. That's you and me right now and everyone we know, and billions of people on the planet. As with all major social change against structural injustices, it's the power of the people and public demand, many accompanied by faith groups, that's the main driver. Need to mention a couple of my favorite. Incredible environmental justice organizations have been around for decades, including Earth Justice, which was born in 1971, Communities for a Better Environment, which was established in 1978, and East Yard Communities for Environmental Justice, created in 2001. Now, as we're aware, lower income folks, often communities of color, suffer the most from pollution sources, refineries, and extraction. And this is no mistake. Fossil fuel companies have set up operations in lower income communities because local governments let them, and they think that the communities aren't going to fight back. And these communities are predominantly people of color because they have historically been redlined out of living in wealthier and healthier communities. We can use terms like disadvantaged or underserved or underprivileged to describe these folks, but it's just plain racist policies that have put our communities of color on the front lines of fossil fuel extraction. Some refer to these communities as sacrifice zones. Now, in terms of faith, we responded. In 2000, Interfaith Power and Light was created, the largest countrywide organization focused on the faith ecology nexus. That year, California Interfaith Power and Light was born as well, where I worked from 2009 to 2023. And the Episcopal and all the people, you are doing incredible work. The Episcopal, woohoo! All right. Now, in 2014, this was awesome. 400,000 people rallied at the People's Climate March in New York City, demanding action for pollution reduction and environmental justice. The march was largely coordinated and led by Indigenous and climate justice communities and included 50,000 people of faith. In 2015, Pope Francis's very influential encyclical on ecology, Laudato Si', was released, and there were major statements that were made by Jewish and Muslim leaders. These permeated global and local communities, not just people of faith. People said, oh my gosh, the faith community is really coming out. This is awesome. All right, so let's go a little bit to legislation for the last 25 years. In the last 25 years, climate change policy has grown, mainly in states whose legislators accept the science of climate change, they don't politicize it, and they want to stave off the worst effects of climate change. Two huge highlights from California. AB 32, the California Global Warming Solutions Act of 2006. Here is then Assemblymember Pavley after then Governor Schwarzenegger signed AB 32 into law. Pavley also authored AB 1493, which later became the basis for the federal Clean Car Standards, which we'll talk a little tiny bit about. Now in California, we remained a leader in renewable energy legislation, increasing our renewable energy goal to 33% by 2020, which we hit, 50% by 2030, which we've hit, and now committing to 100% renewable energy by 2045. We do have a 2030 goal of 65%, which we are actually doing quite well on. Now, this is really important because of what I've said before, that low-income communities of color are often hit first and worst by pollution extraction, refining, use. In 2018, Assemblymember Merit Suchi said, we need to have a bill that makes setbacks between oil and gas extraction and residential, educational, and recreational sites. The implications of oil and gas drilling have been known for decades. Increased cardiac and respiratory illnesses, preterm births, and increased risk of cancer and premature death are all a reality for those living close to oil and gas sites. After a multi-year struggle with state agencies, this setback was finalized in 2022 with a 3,200-foot setback. Yay! The very next day, big oil sued, but it was put into practice. Last year, the Trump administration has brought a suit against this. On the federal level, attempts at establishing federal policy have been very slow and frustrating. In 2009, this was a defining year. The House of Representatives passed H.R. 2454, which would have reduced pollution, created clean energy jobs, and invested in communities hard hit by regional climate change. But as expected, there was massive pushback by the fossil fuel industry, and the bill was never taken up in the Senate. Now, there are other reasons why the bill was never taken up in the Senate, but another main reason for the failure of H.R. 2454 was the rise of the Tea Party. How many people remember the rise of the Tea Party? Remember how they were very, very, very vocal? And they went into all meetings, like local meetings, council meetings, everyone. And their whole thing is they demand smaller government, and they don't want to pay, a lot of taxes. But another reason is because these wayward faith leaders said things like God would not allow a climate crisis to happen, or that protecting creation is a form of neo-paganism, or, hey, if there is a climate crisis, it really doesn't matter because end times are coming anyway. The second coming of Christ is going to be here before we know it, so we don't really have to do anything about the climate crisis. These people continue the false science versus religion illusion. And you can see, this was just, 3 weeks ago? The reason I don't get worked up about this is because my faith is not in scientists. It is in Jesus Christ. If you've read the good book, you know how it ends. It's not with climate change. This was 3 weeks ago at a House Capital Investment Committee. Another really great federal policy that almost made it was the Clean Power Plan. And the Clean Power Plan would have reduced carbon emissions from electricity generation by 32% from 2005 levels by 2030. But it was repealed in the first Trump administration. The Biden administration tried to revive this, but it was again repealed last year. In 2012, using the Pavley standards, as a model, the Obama administration finalized the clean car standards. How many remember the clean car standards like a decade ago? Yeah. They would have paved the way to fuel economy of 54.5 miles per gallon for new cars by 2025. Wow, wouldn't it be nice if we all had those cars now? But these were rolled back in 2018 under the first Trump administration. This is a picture of clean car advocates in 2018 from the Watts Clean Air and Energy Committee. In 22, there was finally a sign of life, some sun coming out of the clouds. Congress finally acted on the climate crisis in a big way, passing the Inflation Reduction Act. And this would have, among other things, had 1.5 million new jobs by 2030, including 150,000 new manufacturing jobs, and it would have decreased greenhouse gas emissions 37% by 2030. Wow, that sounds really nice. We were so happy when this happened. But sadly, H.R. 1, the big, beautiful bill of last July, ended many of these incentives, many of the programs, basically killing the IRA. Now, on an international scale, the international community has been active since the 1992 Rio Summit, mainly through annual international climate talks. Sadly, these talks have not yielded the type of binding treaties needed to keep up with the rapid pace of climate change. And I'm sure you know the word COP. It means Conference of Parties, and that is with the UN Framework on Climate Change, Conference of Parties, COP. So, some highlights. In 2009, at the Copenhagen COP, there was consensus to keep temperature rise to 2 degrees Celsius. In 2015 in Paris, there was consensus to keep it well under 2 degrees Celsius. This 2 degrees Celsius is the limit that scientists say, if we pass this, we're really, the effects are going to be very, very devastating. But the Green Climate Fund was established, and this is a loss and damage fund for countries that are really, really hard hit by climate change, especially small island states, and they have very little, if no responsibility for the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere that are causing the damage. And then last year, in Brazil, some major economies strengthened their climate plans, but large polluters are still finalizing their plans. The US was absent because Trump has pulled us out of the Paris Agreement last year and then again in the first administration. Now, I do want to say something of note. In 2009, ahead of the UN climate talks in Copenhagen, a group of business leaders took out a full-page ad in the New York Times, urging swift action. In part, it stated, "If we fail to act now, it is scientifically irrefutable that there will be catastrophic and irreversible consequences for humanity and our planet." This was signed also by Donald J. Trump, who would work for the opposite. So this is why I believe that he does not really not believe in climate change. He's doing what's politically and economically expedient. Well, not economically, financially for him expedient. All right, so where are we today? We're going to do like the distressing signs first, because I always like to have like the bad news first, and then you have the good news. So let's have some of this distressing news. The amount of CO2 in the atmosphere is estimated to have been about 280 parts per million prior to the Industrial Revolution. That is where it had been for roughly 2.5 million years. The most up-to-date reading from Mauna Loa is, in February of this year, is 429.35, up from 427 just a year ago. So that's a rise of 2.26 parts per million in 1 year. So it's increasing faster, at a faster rate. The Supreme Court has given us a couple of really bad decisions, unfortunate decisions. The first was in June 2022, when the Supreme Court curtailed the EPA's authority on reducing greenhouse gases, stating that any transformational action to the economy must have authorization of Congress. And in May 2023, the Supreme Court severely narrowed the Clean Water Act, removing protections for an estimated half of the nation's wetlands. Our current administration is a sign of distress. It's a distressing sign. Trump's EPA just announced plans to reverse the 2009 endangerment finding. The 2009 endangerment finding means that it was found that greenhouse gases endanger public health. So in 2009, the EPA said, oh, okay, so we have the authority to regulate greenhouse gases. But this was just rescinded by the Trump administration. Trump is very favorable to the AI industry, but he wants them to do whatever they want, even though their data centers put an incredible strain on both electricity and water sources. He's pulled out of the Paris Agreement, and what we really need right now is massive international cooperation, and he is an obstacle to this. Tragically, minerals used in solar panels, EVs, our phones, our computers, and many other technology are often extracted in conditions described as modern-day slavery. An estimated 20% of the cobalt we use comes from artisanal mining from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where human trafficking, including child trafficking, sexual violence, dangerous working conditions, and any absence of human rights is common. As we go forward, humanity must work relentlessly to obtain minerals needed for technology and cleaner technology in a way that honors human dignity, protections, and humane working conditions. Now, we have some good news. And I want to say the first piece of good news is us and billions of people. Literally, when you think about it, we have 8 billion people in the world, and the majority of them know what's happening, they work for the good, they're working sustainably. So this is the first piece of good news. All of us in the room, all your friends and everything. So don't lose sight of that. So another is, for the first time ever, in the first half of 2025, the world generated more power from renewable sources than from coal. In the face of the Iran war already, some countries are building out more renewable energy projects, like Egypt, which just announced a project to power 6 million homes. Egypt also now aims to achieve a 45% renewable energy share by 2028 instead of 2023. Now, as we go toward more renewable energy, this is why we need to work like heck to ensure that the extraction of earth minerals that we need is done in a humane way. And a great sign of hope is that we have done this before. We have precedent for humanity's positive action in the face of real threats. How many have heard of the Montreal Protocol? Woo! All right. So in the mid-1970s, research commenced, and it was showing that hydrofluorocarbons were damaging the ozone layer. And the ozone layer is absolutely, crucial for life on Earth. So 198 countries got together, and they said, okay, we're going to start to ban hydrofluorocarbons. And they did. And it was a binding treaty, which means you had to, or else. So the ozone hole over Antarctica is slowly recovering. Yay. So, current working strategies. Current working strategies is cities, municipalities, states, nations, country must transition from dirty fossil fuels. Electrification of transportation is happening. Increase of energy efficiency and strengthening of natural sequestration areas must happen. So lands, conservation of lands that naturally sequester carbon from the atmosphere. And we must stop deforestation. All right. So you've heard enough from me. Like I said, there are incredible people in this room right now, and there are credible people on Zoom. I know who you are. So what I would like you to do is just take a few moments. Oops. There. Oh, you saw everything. I would just like you to take a few moments. You can either close your eyes or you can just whatever. And I would like you to imagine, envision the kind of world that you want to see. What kind of pictures come to mind? And then what actions can we take today to help ensure the well-being for all life on Earth in the future? If you'd like to write some notes, because then I'm going to ask you to talk about this at your tables, just imagine, like, what comes to mind? What visions of beauty you want to see? And then what actions would have to happen for that? Okay, so if you have some ideas, I would love for you to turn to the people at your table and make sure that everyone speaks. And we're going to take about 5 or 6 minutes. And I would love for you to share what kind of images came to your mind you want to see. And what actions do we really need to undertake? And I'm going to be we're going to come back together and talk about this, and I'm going to be making a list and sending it out to everyone. And you'll be able to get these slides as well. So, all right, so why don't you share with one another your vision, your actions.
All right, well, we all talk in the room amongst ourselves. Those on Zoom looking at you over here, please feel free to unmute yourself and join in this conversation. You guys will be able to see and hear each other, and we'll go ahead and reconvene in about 5 minutes.
Before we hear from folks, I just do want to say that I honor and respect everyone in this room that is working on these. Even if you're not working on a piece of climate change, everything you do is connected, because as we know, the climate crisis exacerbates every single major social justice issue. So thank you for what you do. So I'm going to take some notes, and like I said, this is being recorded, so we'll send out the recording and the slides, and I'm going to make a list of what comes up. Send it all to you. So let's hear from the folks on Zoom first. Folks on Zoom, is there anyone that wants to say something about a vision that you have or actions that must be taken? And if there is no one, it's okay.
Well, a couple of the things that Anne and I talked about were trees, and basically reforestation and the new regenerative farming that is getting started, which will begin to put out major, much more oxygen into the climate. And also looking up at Humboldt County and the wind farms that are happening up there. And really excited that we're so blessed to live in California, because in spite of what's happening nationally, California is keeping moving forward with its efforts to be very, very responsive to the global crisis. And then just perhaps the last thing is perhaps the one tiny silver lining out of this closure of the Straits of Hormuz is that more and more people are going to move away from oil. The Chinese are already way ahead of us with this. Hopefully this will push the Chinese to do even more on the energy crisis.
Thank you, Juliet.
Alice, this is Michael T.
Yes. Hi, Michael.
Excellent presentation. Thank you. Thank you. Well, a couple of things that somehow a human resources element be added to the companies that go into poor areas to promise people better jobs, work, better environments for them, to add the human resources element as a requirement so that folks are able to have more say and more power in the work that they do every day. The second thing, and this might sound a little Pollyanna, but the second thing is, along with the signs of protest, along with all the negative news, to start to have billboards and signs and bursts on the internet, all those, I forget what you call them, that affirm progress that is being made. Because as we affirm progress, we are more motivated to do more. There will be some that say, okay, I don't have to do anything. But most of us will be saying, oh, I want to be part of that, or oh, let me do that, or let me add myself to that. So that's the two things that came up when Catherine and I were talking.
Thank you, Michael. Okay. Now, if we go here, maybe we could have one person speak from a table at a time. Visions, or let's see.
Whoever would like to as well, please. Perfect. Thank you, Rosa, for a perfect example. If you'd like to speak into the mic, please feel free to raise your hand. One of us will walk over with the mic. This is just to ensure that our friends online can be a part of this discussion and hear you as well, so that we don't have to deal with the, what did you say? What did she say? No, no worries.
Okay, this is Rosa, another wonderful member.
And I'm going to ask the members here, if I didn't say something that we definitely want said, please tell me, because I know I, like, listen to me. No, just remind me. We talked about trees too. We also talked, Michael, about advertising, right? That we get hit with a lot of advertising no matter what we look at. Well, let's make it concerning the climate and what can be done and what's been done. With the trees, my friend Terry and I, we shared that working for Rec and Parks, we discovered that there's a need for education, political education for all of us of what is put into legislation, because when groups have come in the city of LA at least, wanting to use a portion of the parks for whatever, let's say a charter school comes and they say, we want that portion of the park for a parking lot. The city then agrees, oh, but you must give us the same amount in park area, in green area. The problem with that is that if you have a beautiful big park, like let's say Griffith Park, I think we all know what that looks like. Sorry. You start cutting it up into pieces enough, you can have a lot of little tiny green areas, but you're not going to have a beautiful green Griffith Park. So also with deforestation, okay, I don't know if this is included under it, but the need to stop urban deforestation. And what do I mean by that? In my neighborhood, I live on Woods Avenue, and we went in there and it looked like woods. It looked like trees everywhere. Not anymore. We are told that the trees get cut down because the roots are getting in the way of the pipes or something else. No, let's think the other way around. The pipes are getting in the way of the trees. And we have to find a way to put those pipes someplace else, because we do not have the canopy needed, and we're hot as hell in the summer, and we don't have the same amount of birds, and we don't have the little animals. We saw a possum one day 2 years ago, and we thought we were going to die. We'd never seen one before. So, I don't know. Anything I missed, guys? Yeah, the education of the next generation, starting in the schools, and for the older generation to take responsibility too.
Thank you.
Whoever you saw first.
Hi, so I'll share my vision first. So the vision that I had is growing up Italian in a very traditional family. We didn't buy produce. Everything we wanted, we grew. And so my vision, my personal vision, is less reliance on factory farming and more reliance on people growing what they want, how they want it grown. And, you know, I think the action is we can promote home gardens, even if they're just a window box garden. Imagine, I read an article years ago that said that if you buy a prepackaged pack of tomatoes at Trader Joe's, the retail price is like $2.99, but it costs as much as $10 to grow those 6 tomatoes. So, and that's just in resources expended, water, transportation, and all that. So, I think for me, the vision is to have more reliance on homegrown food, and that actually bleeds over into not just the environment, but healthier living, a bit more vegetable-rich diet, healthier people, and healthier societies. Also at the table, we talked a lot about having, in the workplace, having paperless work environments, and more reliance on digital and non-tangible forms that are just end up in the landfill.
That's wonderful. And I am so sorry, I just got the wrap-up sign, but we can take one more comment. And we can still do the video. Okay, great. Yeah. One more.
I had heard a scientist who has the easy cure for global climate change. Simple, plant 1 trillion trees. And he's actually trying to get people behind the idea of just plant trees and create the filter to reabsorb the carbon. I like the idea that it's simple in concept, but I've also heard of a scientist who believes he's figured out how to what do you call it when you take away the desert? To take the Sahara Desert and turn it back into fertile land. De-desertification, reclaiming it. But he has the theory, and it's in a TED Talk, and it seems like that's a huge part of it is being able to turn millions of acres back into carbon purifying plants. And lastly, I think we're going to have to do something about this free speech movement. I am perplexed by the idea that there will always be people who will say that electric cars are worse for the environment than gas combustion cars, and solar panels are worse for the environment than coal burning facilities. And there's so much misinformation that I think it freezes people who want to move forward, and they're told backwards is forward. And I think that it's a shame, that people are not clear on what really will help.
That's right. That's right.
But that's free speech, So the petrochemical industry uses free speech to really.
And that's why we have to be very, very educated people. We said one more, but I think my friend Mark just wants to say something about the power of prayer, if you can keep it.
Well, yeah, my name is Mark Rakowski from the Laudate Deum Prayer Network for Climate Healing. But stellar talk. I just want to say, for linking what you're saying about misinformation, a very comprehensive, hopeful narrative comes from the environmentalist and journalist Bill McKibben, Here Comes the Sun. Read it. It puts it together very well. And one very simple thing is, if you need a new appliance or you need a new vehicle, and you really do need it, make it electric. If we just did that, we probably would solve a huge portion of this, in addition to all the other things mentioned.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I think we have to wrap up.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, Rose. Yeah. Oh.
One more piggyback, we'll take it.
To follow through on that, also make it affordable for us that want electric cars to be able to put the stations in our home. It requires not only putting the station in, but redoing our electrical panels. And that, for some of us, goes into the thousands and thousands of dollars. There would be so much money saved if we had an electric vehicle instead of being forced to use the petrol ones, and we need it.
Yes, and we've said a lot of things, and I really appreciate that. About the electric vehicles, there are many, 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 many used electric vehicles for sale, and that's probably what I'm going to get next. And all you have to do is plug it into a 120. It takes longer, or go to a neighborhood. So there's definitely very affordable ways to do this. So thank you so much, and I hope that you have a chance to continue, and thank you for everything that you are doing. Like I said, you will receive the slides, the recording, and some of these notes. And I'd like to end on a sign of note with a song called There Ain't No Way We'll Lose that I wrote with one of my friends. And there are some really hopeful photos. So I hope you like it.
When it seems we're on the road alone, the challenges and sadness are gone. We're singing the blues, but then we see together that there ain't no way we'll lose. We think we do this alone, that it's weakness to share our load, but it's strength to rely on community, because it's one, there ain't no way we'll lose. We see the power among us and power above us. We live in a way that's true. There is beauty all around us, all we have to do is grab it with our sin. Together united, more connected, not divided, to meet each other's needs. A loving word and a sign, heavy lifting with their hands is light. The loving cycle continues, the future is ever bright. There ain't no way we'll lose. There ain't no way we'll lose. There ain't no way that we'll lose.
Didn't I tell you she has a wonderful voice? Alice, this has been wonderful. Come up here a minute. Let me give you a hug. Oh, wow. So inspirational, educational, right? We're going to send out our prayers, and you've got lots of ways to act. So a little token of our thank you to you. And we're so proud of you, proud of the Commission on Environmental Justice. And thank you for being here today. Yes, you may.
And also, we're going to start the Environmental Commission a monthly gathering of kind of like a climate support group. We thought of naming it Project Hail Mary, but I don't think we will. So we'll send information about that to you as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Alice.